This is Jeff Mucci from RCR Wireless News. We're in Palo Alto, and today we're meeting with Fabrizio Capobianco, who is CEO and founder of Funable. Fabrizio, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell me a little bit more about what you do and who you do it for.
So Funable is the largest open source project in mobile, and what we do is mobile cloud syncing. So we offer services for carriers to allow their users to take everything they have on their phone and sync it on the cloud. It could be their messages, their social network information, address book, calendar, their pictures, all gets into the cloud and synced on all their devices. It could be a PC, mobile phone, iPad, and anything they can buy.
Earlier you mentioned that you're helping the carriers from the attack from the device companies. What does that mean?
Well, in my opinion, the carriers are under attack right now. They have all the device manufacturers, which are supposed to be their friends.
Right.
And the reality is that they're trying to make them a pipe. I mean, if you look about your BlackBerry, what AT&T, where AT&T is a sticker on the front. There's no other place where AT&T is visible. If you go to the iPhone, the sticker is actually digital in the top right. It's easier to remove. And if you look at what they do, is the same for Motorola with MotoBlur, Nokia with Ovi, Palm, Windows 7. They all take the data of the user and then put it on their cloud.
Right.
And if that happens, the carrier is a pipe. So what we tell the carriers is, and they actually tell us, is that they want to fight back. They want to make sure that that content from the device is on their cloud and make sure that all the devices get synced on their cloud. So that makes the phone and the service sticky, because if whenever you change phone, you can go to another device, but you will sync back to the carrier. And they can offer new services, new data services around social networks, around messaging, around synchronization that increase the revenue they can make rather than leave it all to the device manufacturer and Google and Microsoft.
Why is open source a strategic differentiator for your company?
Well, this is a complex market, and I think everyone understands it. If you're in mobile, you've seen 2 billion phones. They're different per country. In every country, they're different per carrier. So the combination is unbelievable. And then you add all the devices that have an IP now, cameras. They're able to connect to the network, to the cloud, cars and iPad, tablets, and so on. So if you're a device manufacturer, you want to do one phone or 10 phones, it's fairly easy to do. But if you want to go after the mass market, and a carrier must go after the mass market, you have billions and billions of combination. Now, the way to do it is either you buy every phone on the planet and you test every phone, but that might be too expensive. Or you do it with a community. And so we have millions of downloads of our platform, tens of thousands of developers that are testing our client from device 1 to device 2 to device 3 and make sure this actually works across devices. And for carriers, open source adds another thing. The fact that we give them a platform which is not a black box. They have the ability to modify, customize it to their liking, make it different from the competition. And if they want to do one feature, they need one feature to be different, they don't have to wait for a vendor to create it for them. They don't have to wait for our roadmap. They can just do that themselves, hire someone to do it for them. And so this combination of a lot of devices and the ability to customize and make it different and flexibility, I think, is very important for them.
Well, you talk about breadth of market in terms of devices. You've also talked about depth and the ability for operators to go deep into data types. Can you talk a little bit about the types of data sets that they're able to sync for their clients?
Yeah, so as I said, open source gives you this ability to go broad on devices, which is very unique. But if you look at a device manufacturer that has one device, they go also deep, actually, only deep, which means they do messaging, they do address book synchronization, they do calendar, they do pictures, and they give one user interface, one user experience to their users. Now, if you want to do the same thing and you're a carrier, you must do it on many devices, but you want to go deep as well, because you can't just give them one experience for address book, one experience for calendar, one experience for email, one experience for pictures. You want to have one platform to build on. And unfortunately, in the market, because it's complicated, there are a lot of devices. You either have the device manufacturer that go deep on one device, or other vendors that go broad on devices up to a certain point, because it's tough for them only to do one data type. But it's one data type. You have the vendor of email, the vendor of address book or social address book, the vendor of pictures. But if you're a carrier, you want to have a platform. And that's open source gives us the ability to do breadth on devices and depth on data types.
So what is the ROI and value proposition for the carrier?
So it's twofold. One is is defending the position. You don't want to be a pipe. Right. We've seen what happened on the internet. If you're a carrier, that's not your goal. Shouldn't be your goal. So you want to make sure you're valuable in the interaction with the user. You're visible to the user. They go to your cloud. So it's being in front of the user, making sure your brand is valuable is one thing that you can calculate and monetize, but it's a bit harder to monetize or at least to quantify. Right. The second one is lowering the churn. If you have a user data on your cloud and they lose their phone or they change phone, they're more likely to come back to you because that data comes back. If I lose my address book and I lose my phone, the only thing I care about is getting my address book back. Mm-hmm. So I will not look at anyone. I'll go back to you because you have my data. Mm-hmm. So lowering the churn, considering the cost of acquisition is pretty high, is a very important goal. The third one is offering services. Right. So getting into the game of offering cloud services. And that is a very interesting revenue opportunity for them around the address book, around messaging, around storage, around pictures. This is a new market for them, could be driven by advertising as well. So we have many ways that the carrier can make money with us, so in a revenue share idea.
It seems like cloud syncing should be first and foremost in the operator's mind. However, over the last year, you've heard only about app stores and carriers investing money and time in app stores. But at the end of the day, if I'm the consumer, I care about my information. Why are carriers so focused on the app store concept versus this type of service?
Well, I think if you look at what publicly they're working on, I think you'll see the App Store is the forefront of what they're doing. The same thing they announced in the Mobile World Congress, this WAC idea. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But they're all working on content. I mean, that's why we're doubling our numbers every year. There is a reason why we saw a growth at the end of mid last year, is that cloud services are in the top 3. Goals for 2010 for carriers, at least the one we talked to. Mm-hmm. Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1, maybe Vodafone moved first with Vodafone 360, buying a bunch of companies, and other Tier 1 are now coming in, and the Tier 2 are just behind and can get our platform customized, branded, and go for it. So I would say it might not be that visible right now, but is where a big push is going to be in 2010.
What customers can you talk about?
Well, we have... Most of our carriers are, Tier 1 in the U.S., Tier 1 in Europe that we signed in the last 6 months, that we haven't announced. Mm-hmm. In the past, our company was mostly focused on ISP and portals, because our idea was, let's go after those that have content and mobilize them. And then we realized, because the carriers started calling us, that, look, we have this problem, can you solve it for us? And we found out we were just perfect for that market. So kind of got lucky, if you want, in this space. So the one we can talk about, America Online, which is using our cloud syncing service, 1&1, which is the largest ISP in the world, which is using our product, and some in that Earthlink. So in that market, we kind of nailed that ISP market. Everyone had 1 million users or more. We offered, and we launched with them a solution. Now we're moving into mobile carriers, and this has been mostly the last, I would say, 6 to 9 months. And we believe, if you look at our numbers last year, I would say 80% came from carriers.
Okay. And in closing, tell us about when you founded the company, who your financial backers are, and when you might be able to expect to see profitability.
So we founded the company, we started as a Series A company in 2005. We raised money from Walden International and HIG here in Silicon Valley. Company's headquartered here, but we have an offshore development in Italy, of all places. And now we bought a company in November that has a development center in Ukraine. So we kind of mix them up. So we'll see where food is better, who develops better. So
exactly, right.
Who plays better football.
Exactly.
So we raised in 2005. We did another round 2 years ago. In 2008, we had the lead investor was Nexit Ventures,
right,
and participation of Castile Ventures out of Boston. So we have some Silicon Valley, Boston, and Nexit is actually headquartered in Finland with office in Stockholm and a presence here in the Valley. So we have 2 new investors who actually like my espresso. So
good.
I changed the.
Yep.
So companies been growing very fast, or profitability is this year for us.
Good. And how did your experience at TIPCO help you in the supply chain environment that you're operating in today?
Well, I've always done, if you want, B2B. So
right,
selling to, in that case, it was banks that were selling to consumers. So
right,
my work there was Reuters retail solutions. So it was retail consumers, so people that would trade, like me and you, online, thinking that it was easy to make money trading in buying stock in 2000. And so it was telling banks how to propose this to consumers. And we're studying a lot what the consumers were looking for and how to make it very easy for the web. And this is exactly now what we're doing, which is going to carriers and telling them, look, we know consumers. We have millions of downloads of our platform. So on the open source, we see them, we see users, and we know what they're looking for. And so helping them deploy a platform and solve all the technical issues that are enormous in mobile, because the variation is pretty high. Fragmentation is very high. It's helping us, but it's still a complex problem. And making sure their consumers eventually really like the product. The quality is high because there is a lot of bad software in mobile. And a lot of people have tried and it just doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, you get one opportunity to get them and then they'll move on. And so making sure that they are successful. And so if they are successful with their users, then we become successful as well.
Well, thanks for stopping by today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.